right. We look good. And there we go. Looks like everything is okay. And just make sure it all looks good. Awesome. All right. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of our Labs Open Office Hour. This week, we are joined by Kelly Shipman, our resident. Man, I guess you kind of do a lot of little different things, just like everybody else, huh? You got.
Yeah.
You just recently finished up your 3ds Max benchmark. You have some background in like level design and game development in a way, which is super cool. It touches my heart. And so now the new hotness for you is
Unreal Engine. That's where I'm
Unreal
spending the past couple of weeks and probably the next couple of months.
awesome. And so, in what respect? What are you doing with Unreal Engine?
So I'll be developing a benchmark, kind of like Matt did with the Adobe suite.
Okay.
A benchmark specifically for production as opposed to like gameplay benchmark. There's a lot of benchmarks that's like, how well does it run a game? But that's not
Sure.
That's not the only problems that our customers face. So we're going to look at more like importing assets, building shaders or compiling shaders, building lighting, all that kind of stuff that
Nice.
is a pain point in developing something.
Awesome. Okay. And I imagine you have some relevant experience with that.
A little bit, yeah. Since I was an environment artist in video game industry and did QA before that, yeah, didn't work in Unreal in a professional sense, but I
Okay.
did on my own portfolio pieces and stuff like that.
Neat.
So just as a like artist asset importer type person, I did a lot of Unreal stuff.
Right on. I'm curious, because Unreal's, I mean, it's other than Unity, it's like the biggest game development engine, it seems. What so far? What has been your biggest like struggle with it? Like,
So far the big struggle is because it does so much. Like there is virtually not an industry, there's virtually not an industry that doesn't use it in some way.
okay,
Like, so architects are really big in Unreal right now,
oh yeah,
which is really cool because they can basically allows you to set up, like recreate the your condo or house or whatever it is you're building, or an office space, hotel. You have it created in 3D. You can actually like walk around it in real time or use VR to like walk around it and see everything.
yeah.
You can then set it up so that you can like change out materials to be like, well, what if we had this color marble floors instead, or this countertop, and change it all in real time. And then because that's all pretty close to photoreal in Unreal
Sure,
already, Unreal has I guess they call it like an offline renderer, like not a real-time rendering, but
Okay.
you can set like more rays per pixel and higher resolution than your screen and all this kind of stuff, and render out a video that they can then use for marketing stuff, or do this massive, 10,000K image for print, so they can print out a high resolution thing, and it's all like using the exact same lighting setup and everything, so everything looks the same.
Oh, that's
Instead of
super
like
cool.
setting up something in 3D in Unreal and then having to go to Maya or something to render out a video, and like
Right.
it's just all done in one thing. So architecture has been using it a lot. Some engineers have been using it, like I think Daimler.
Okay.
That sounds right. They actually use it for designing cars, so they'll have engineers with 3D headsets in a collaborative environment. Like they're not in the same building even, but they're in,
Oh, that's cool.
like they show up in the 3D space and they can like adjust parts of the car and move things around and do all this stuff, and that's all happening in Unreal.
Yeah. Is there like a physics
Um,
layer or two, so that wind tunnel kind of thing and whatnot?
mhm.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, there's already physics built in, but then Unreal has the ability to make your own, like the source code's basically open. You can
Right.
add in anything you want. It's C++. They also have their own internal scripting thing called Blueprints, which is a visual scripting
Mm-hmm.
language. So you can there's go to the marketplace on Unreal's website, and you can just look at all these different plugins that people have created to add different functionality. You can create
Right.
your own and just do whatever it is you need to do in
Ooh,
there, which is why a lot of machine learning people have grabbed onto Unreal. Um,
that's interesting.
because autonomous cars, they can
Okay.
set up whatever type of environment they want in Unreal to have the car drive through, and then use that to train their models without having to have a real car driving around. Um,
Oh wow.
and then they just import their own like AI code on top of Unreal to do all this training.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, right now the movie and video industry is just jumping all over Unreal.
Yeah.
I'm surprised how, like, I knew that they were doing it, but then as
Right.
I've been researching it this past week or two, it's amazed how many people are doing it and what they're doing. It's unbelievable.
Right. And so like, I suppose I mean the big one in that space, the virtual production bit is of course the Mandalorian.
Hmm.
And I've spoken with a few others on the Workflow Wednesdays that have kind of touched on this a little bit. It seems that there's two schools of how to accomplish the virtual production goal, and it's either you go crazy big with the LED wall as
Hmm.
basically a bunch of big, very high resolution monitors, or the Matt Workman.
Hmm.
He's the one I know of the most, who is doing the green screen style, where
Hmm.
like you have, and it's in that way.
Hmm.
Which one are you? I imagine you're exploring the more green screen style.
So what I was doing is trying to figure out how they're different, how like what kind of hardware
Oh,
resources are being utilized differently depending on the different workflows.
sure.
Um, in addition to that, there's also projector. So like using projectors to project onto the wall. That's kind of like a middle
Oh,
ground where um, you don't need the LED wall, but you still want something to film against. You can do a projector onto the wall and then film that.
yeah. Okay.
Um, and then also, kind of in addition to that, is AR type stuff, where instead of just a wall, they could
Mm-hmm.
add something into the scene, like in front of the actors or on the same plane as the actors or whatever. So
Oh,
there's that kind of stuff too, which actually happened in the Gamescom uh, video yesterday. It was a live presentation from,
okay.
and since Gamescom couldn't happen in real life, which is normally
Mm-hmm.
in Germany, they did it all online.
Right.
So they had their presenter standing on um, a green screen stage, which was green screen floor and two walls
Oh.
as the three things. And he stood there, and they would have like stuff happening, like different scenes and happening depending on what game they're talking about. Then they would have like a video screen pop up that would be whoever he's talking to, that they would be
Mm-hmm.
calling in. But then also they would have stuff on the floor with him, like when they kind of like pan up from the floor, and it
Right.
was for the announcement of Shadowlands, the new World of Warcraft expansion.
Oh. Okay. Okay.
Um, and as they're doing that, there's like the big um, World of Warcraft logo, like kind of protruded from the floor, that looks like
Wow.
a set piece, but it's just a 3D thing as they're panning up, because they can just add that in front
That's
of
so
the
cool.
thing. So there's like all kinds of different stuff you can do, basically the same thing.
Wow.
And as far as hardware is concerned, so far it looks like it's all about the same. Like doing it
Oh.
on
Okay.
green screen versus on an LED doesn't really take different resources.
Interesting.
Still have to do the same amount of frames. Um,
Huh.
Yeah, because basically
You
you're
think
going to cap it at whatever the camera is shooting at. So if the
okay.
camera is 30
Oh,
FPS or 60 FPS, that's all you want, anyways.
okay.
And then you're just trying to use as much stuff in the scene as you can put in there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Because you'd think I suppose just instinctually I would have thought that running big giant high resolution monitors would take more oomph, more resources, or better graphics card or what have you
I
to
mean,
to
it
make it
will.
work. Okay.
It will. Because also it's like, what's your final output going to be? Is it going to be 1080p? Is it going to be 4K, 6K, higher?
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
those video walls aren't actually that high of resolution
Oh.
because they're far enough away that
Okay.
a pixel on there is smaller than a pixel on the sensor, so it doesn't really matter. Um,
Oh.
or they're shooting it with a shallow depth of field, so that way they're just getting the actor, and then that's all slightly
It's a little
blurred or
blurred or
whatever.
something. Oh.
Um, and then
Very clever.
also, usually on the video walls,
Mm-hmm.
what they do is the camera is tracked in 3D, and so it will like basically cut out that section that will be actually filmed, and then everything else gets kind of low resed. So that way it's just
Oh.
providing light and kind of stuff, and then not using as many resources. So there's different tricks, different ways to get around it.
It it
But it's
sounds like some
basically,
of the same tricks that they do in video games, where
yeah.
like you're only really rendering what's within the viewport.
Mhm.
All the rest of the world doesn't really exist, but what you see in the
Yeah.
box.
Yeah, they
Huh.
want enough on the rest of the walls to provide reflections and correct lighting and
Right.
all that kind of stuff. So they don't like just drop it to black because then you lose all your
Oh,
lights.
then your lighting's all weird. Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
And I
That's
saw this
fun.
one. It's really cool. I'll have to share it to you at some point. Figure out how to share it to you. 'Cause
Oh,
it's on this. Well, like not right now. It's on this Facebook group that's by invite only, and so
oh,
I don't know how to get the video out from there,
oh!
and I
I
don't want
see.
to
I
just
see.
bring it up on stream right now because I don't know if this guy's allowed to share it
Oh, I
too
see.
publicly or
Sure.
not.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
but basically, they're shooting in one of those video caves where it's like walls, ceiling, everything's all
Oh, sure.
LED.
It's all like
Um,
okay.
yeah, and then but it's like a everything's on fire around them. Like they're standing in the middle of like a giant forest fire type look.
Sure.
So to get that like the flame coloration change on the actress, they actually have. It looked like a typical photo or video shoot. They have like that guy with the reflector that's sitting
Oh
there.
yeah.
It
Uh huh.
looks like that, but it's a giant LED screen that has like the
Wow.
flames going on it. So he's holding it like just behind the camera, but close enough to the actress where like that light is now projecting on her to make the fire actually go on there. I was like, this is so cool. Like that's this little thing in addition to this giant room. And yeah, it's
Wow.
like what people are doing are amazing.
I'm endlessly fascinated by the creativity of people and how they use tools. We do have a question from YouTube. He's asking, how difficult is it to develop a free world interactive games like GTA 5?
Pretty difficult.
I imagine so.
Actually, if you want to kind of get your feet wet with open world scripting and developing stories and stuff like that happen based on scripts, I actually recommend checking out like Skyrim, Oblivion, those kind of things.
Oh,
They, because if you do it in Unreal, like you have to like program the entire thing, like coding type programming.
right.
Whereas Skyrim, their editor actually has like a mission creator type thing. I can't remember what it's
Oh,
called now. It's been a couple of years since I've messed with it. But like you can set in like, okay, this is the actor I want, like the NPC I want. This is the thing that needs to happen to trigger the next step in the quest, and then once that triggers, then teleport the NPC to this location. So when the player gets over there, he's there, and like it's
huh.
actually very simple to do in there, and it gives you a good sense of like how to work with that kind of stuff. You can set up all the dialogue in there, including voiceovers and all that kind of stuff.
Right
So
on.
it's actually pretty cool to do in
Okay.
there. But if you're to try to do GTA 5, like that's a lot of work.
Well, I can only imagine. I mean, just look how long it took them to make it. It's or why
Oh yeah.
isn't there a GTA 6 or why hasn't there
Yeah.
been an Elder Scrolls 6? Like those games are incredibly complicated.
Well, and they probably have a couple hundred employees working
Right.
on that. Like, it's a lot of people for a lot of time. So you'll have one employee that is like 6 months working on one side quest. Like it's a
Right.
lot of work. I mean, like that uh Last of Us 2 that just came out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
A lot of people went crazy over this. There's this part in the game where you have to like throw this power cable over a fence and like through a building and stuff to like move power around so you can open up gates or whatever.
Okay.
And it's this amazing like physics simulation of this cable that you can like throw, and it's really long and moves around and stuff. And then someone's like, I'm glad you guys appreciate that. I spent like 6 months trying to do this one scene, and it's like a 5 minute section of the game, like
Wow.
it's, yeah. Once you get into some of those higher end things, it's a lot of work.
And that's cool that I guess developer or the person behind it oh, I
Yeah.
did that and
I saw
people
it on
like
Twitter.
it. That's got to be
Because
very
everyone was just going
heartwarming.
crazy, like, oh my God, can you do this? It was mainly like the game dev people were freaking out about it. Like, a lot of the gamers were probably like, oh, that's cool. But anyone in
Right.
game dev was like, oh my gosh, did you see this? That's
Heck,
what we geek out about.
I thought similarly. Half Life 2. The physics in that was, I mean, it blew my mind at the time.
Yeah.
The different puzzles and all that stuff was really cool.
Well, speaking of Half-Life, in Half-Life Alex, that new
Yeah.
one that came out that's VR, there's like there's a whiskey bottle you can pick up, and it has fluid in it, and you can like move it around, and the fluid like sloshes around in the bottle. And it's just like this little throwaway thing, and like the game dev Twitter just went crazy, and other people are trying to recreate it and doing all this stuff, and they're like, "Oh my God, this is so cool!" But it's just this little thing that's
I
in
love
there.
it.
Yeah.
That's super cool. I can just see where there'll be a crossover too, where like a real actor could interact with the 3D objects.
Hmm.
In these virtual productions, I guess. I'm
Yeah.
not quite sure the vocabulary.
Yeah.
But man, that'll be, yeah. I'm really cool. Do you know of any interesting projects that you've stumbled across in your research, or anything that people should check out?
Not that I can think of. Or some of the ones I've seen are on this private Facebook group for virtual production that you have to like
Okay,
apply to join.
apply. Yeah.
But there was, maybe this was on Twitter, where they had actors, one's playing guitar, one's dancing, but then they're wearing motion capture suits, and then they have next to them 3D avatars that are recreating their stuff, like
Oh,
in real time,
yeah.
just like off to the side. And so like you're talking about having a real actor interacting with something, like it's not that far off, like yeah.
That's really neat. Let's see. Oh, we have a somewhat general sort of question. He's Cody Harrison on YouTube is asking, what led you both to joining Puget Systems?
You did actually.
Me? Oh,
And kind of basically, long story, I was in game dev, left game dev, was looking for a way to kind of do something related to game dev but not be at a game studio. I just wanted out of that. At the time there was a lot of layoffs and cyclical employment and stuff, and it wasn't for me. And then so I took some time off, found the stream that you did when you're building computers, and
oh
you were
yeah.
like, hey, we're hiring the inventory manager. And I was like, well, I can do that. And then when I came and interviewed and found out about labs, is like, that's what I want to do. And so I came to Puget with the intention of moving to labs at some point. And now
Right
here
on.
I am.
That's awesome.
My dog's underneath my feet.
Hey, who's truly the star of your TLDR videos, by the
Yeah.
way.
I need to get my second camera back and can have him.
Let's
We'll
see.
have three
let's see.
cameras next time.
Oh, this is a good question, and one that I've thought about but never thought to ask. So in video, so I'll just quote the question from YouTube. Why in video making and game developers use a lot of green color in the background? Why not another color? Maybe you can touch on that.
Like green in the background of
I think he's asking more like
a green
white
screen, or like
why green for a green screen rather than yellow or whatnot.
Well, for that they also use blue screens. I think they use green just because of how green represents on the color chart. Green is more light. So I think it's probably easier to key out than other colors. It's also not a color that is prevalent in the human skin. Blues actually are. Red you'd have to key out the whole head. Like it would just be bad. But I'm guessing it's just that's what's easiest. But you will see blue screens and mainly just blue and green.
Yeah, I have noticed that, and I think you're probably right there, where it's just one of those colors that isn't usually naturally present, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, that's pretty cool. I'm curious to know more about what you've learned in video production, because it has come up in previous conversations with on Workflow Wednesdays, but I'm very curious.
So, like, going into the beginning of this benchmark, like I knew Mandalorian used LED walls, and I knew Edge of Tomorrow, the Tom Cruise movie.
Yeah.
They used a video wall. Theirs was like just like a wall as opposed to a wraparound thing, but they used that quite a bit in that movie. So I knew that there was a few places that were doing that, and I thought that at this point it was a pretty niche market to use that, and that more people would be doing green screen than video walls.
Right.
But as I've been researching it, there are so many of those video walls or surround like cave scenarios being built all over the world.
Oh wow.
Weta has one now. There are some people working on a couple of them in Europe. There's a sound stage in LA. It's like a company that has multiple sound stages that are all these video caves that you can rent out. That's all they do, is they rent out their video caves. Like people all over the place are using these video walls. That's quickly becoming the default, much faster than I expected it would be.
Why do you think that is? Because I think it would. I feel like it would be easier and cheaper to just throw up a bunch of curtains around in the office and just do it that way.
So it provides a lot of benefits. Number one, those are bright enough that they actually shine light onto the set. So all your lighting is mostly taken care of just by the fact that you're being surrounded by LEDs.
Sure.
All the lighting colors are correct and all that kind of stuff. The one part it doesn't do well is say you're driving down a road and it's the shadows being cast from the trees as you're driving through. Stuff's not going to translate onto you. But then also, if you have, say, your character's holding a wine glass and you are doing it on a green screen versus an LED screen, everything is going to distort and perfectly correct through that wine glass because you're using actual light to go through it. If you're to comp that later, you have to try to chroma key glass, which sucks. And then you're gonna have to distort it slightly to make it look like it's being distorted through the glass. And there's just, it provides someone an easier experience, much faster experience if you don't have to use green screen,
Yeah.
because it all just works. Um, and then the fact that you can iterate really fast, like on the fly, on set, it also gives the
Oh.
actors something to react to. That's what a
Hmm.
lot of the people on Mandalorian were loved, was that like they're not just sitting on a green screen trying to act like they're in some alien spaceport. Like they're
Oh,
in that
sure.
alien spaceport. So like
Oh,
it gives the actors, a much better feel of what they're doing.
sure.
Um,
Oh,
yeah.
that's cool.
It just
That's
provides
neat.
enough benefits that it's worth looking into for a lot of people.
Yeah. Has there been let's see. Oh, the question just popped up. Ever used an Nvidia Quadro Rtx 8000? Ever worked with it? I saw a video of a cinematographer using it and it looked really cool.
Mhm. I personally have not used one. We've had them around the studio, around the office,
Yeah.
but I haven't used it in there. It's basically just RTX 6000 with double the memory. It's the same processor inside and everything. So yeah, if you a lot of cinematographers are using that because they want just massive texture sizes and all this kind of stuff. So they need the memory.
Okay.
And especially since Unreal doesn't do multiple GPUs, that's the way to go.
I see. Has there been anything? Well, I suppose just let's kind of take another look at this. Is what kind of hardware would does this sort of thing take? Like, is it super high end? Is it like what have you found in that?
I've seen people using anything from 2070s to RTX 8000s, like
Wow.
anywhere in
Okay.
between. And again, it depends on what you're trying to do, like how intensive a scene you have. Um, if you're doing the video walls, some of them will actually have multiple systems, each running different sections of the wall.
Okay.
And for that, you have to use Quadro because you need this special sync card that will sync all those computers together.
Ah.
Basically, be
Okay.
one machine.
I was gonna
Um,
ask how do you get if there's multiple monitors, how do you get them all to? But that explains.
yeah, it's a called the I think it's just called the Quadro sync card. They're really original, but it's like $500. You need one for each card, and it connects using Ethernet cable to each computer. One's the master,
Whoa.
and it will sync all of their frames exactly. So each frame
Wow.
happens between all those computers happens at the exact same time, which is really important for a video wall because you don't want like you'd have that
Screen tear, kind of.
yeah, screen tearing in your background and be like, what the heck's that?
That'd be funny.
So yeah, you'd need if you're trying to do multiple screens, you'd need Quadro. You're if the video wall is like something that's set up to only needs one input and it can run it because it's just kind of a lower resolution, then anything from any RTX card would work. You just want as fast as you can get it to go. Or if
Yeah.
you're just doing green screen, simple projects, 2070 is probably plenty fine.
Oh, right on. Okay. And have you found any in the CPU? It's hang on. Let me rephrase this. Um, is it? It seems like it tends to be more GPU based.
Yes,
Is that the truth? Yeah.
for the display will be
Okay.
much more GPU based. On before you get to that point where you have the final product running on the screen, you have to import lots of assets, which is a heavily multi-threaded process. So
Oh, okay.
more cores is better. Same
Sure.
thing with compiling shaders or building your lighting. Even if it's real time, you still have to build lighting, and that's all multi-core. So
Oh,
it's looking like Threadripper is probably the best solution for that.
right on.
Technically, if you're just playing, basically playing a game when you're using these video walls, because it's just playing the scene as opposed to making any changes.
Oh, sure.
Technically, a high clock speed would give you more frames, but often because you're not trying to hit 30, 60 or more frames. Like you don't need more than that.
Okay.
It's better to sacrifice a few frames per second and gain the time in all these other tasks beforehand.
I see. Okay. This one is from Grey Tower on Twitch. She says, "Is there a preferred software that you like working with?"
Um, my preferred is actually probably 3ds Max. I just have a long history with it. I really enjoy
Okay.
modeling in 3ds Max. Probably followed closely by Unreal, just because Unreal gives you the final product.
Yeah.
Unreal it's actually a lot of fun to script in. Their visual scripting
Yeah.
language, it's pretty cool, especially for someone like me who's not a like trained programmer. Being able to just like put blocks in place and like draw little lines. It's like this action then goes to this action. It's a lot easier for me to understand. And you can do all kinds of stuff with it. It's pretty cool.
That's cool. That's handy. Yeah, because I've always had to. I have some very little actual code experience, and I always had to kind of visualize or mind map in that way. Like they taught us how to do that on paper or in a flow chart kind of a thing. You take these different blocks and symbols. It's neat that they took that sort of planning and flow charting in and just this is how it works now, and that's very cool.
Yeah, so like in the game development world, probably in the film world too, but I'm not sure. Basically, the programmers they can create their own little blocks for that scripting language. So if there's something that like I as a designer can't do but want, I can go to the programmer and be like, hey, can you get me this thing? They make that, and then now I have that block that I can start using.
Oh, that's super cool.
Because you can just create them with C++, and then now use it in scripting language.
Nice. That's super handy. Let's see. Cody Harrison on YouTube, he's asking, how does this software scale with ever-increasing core counts from both Intel and AMD, and to a lesser extent, ARM-based CPUs?
I can't speak to ARM. I don't know if that works, because I think it's only available on Mac and Windows. I don't know if there's a Linux version. I'm not sure. Not to mention, I don't have access to any ARM CPUs. I haven't heard of anyone trying Unreal on ARM, but it does scale really well with multiple cores for development.
Yeah. And I think maybe Cody came in a little late because you had mentioned just prior about how some of the like pre-visualization tasks that bring assets and lighting and all that stuff were very heavily CPU and multi-threaded.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
They definitely do like multi-core.
That's cool. That is good to know. I'll take this one. Vivek Moore is asking, hey guys, any plans of restarting custom-built gaming laptops? Probably not. Just a quick explanation on that. The companies that create sort of bare bones laptop solutions don't meet our quality standards. I think that's the quickest and easiest answer. And without going all the way to up the chain to the people who like actually put them together, it's just out of the question.
Yeah, we can't really. It's hard for us to support them because if something's wrong and it's the CPU soldered onto the motherboard, like it was, we have to send it back to them. It's just it's not worth it.
Clevo, I'm not calling out anybody in particular, but it's just GeoWeb on YouTube is asking, what's more important these days, GPU or CPU?
Depends what you're doing. If you're and it depends what your current pain points are. Like if you're doing a lot of like if you're trying to do a lot of this cinematography stuff and really push the envelope, you need a higher GPU. Like the more stuff you throw at it, the more it needs. CPU will help in the early.
Oh, hold on. We're skipping a little bit. Hang on.
Did we lose you?
Say that last sentence again.
I don't remember what I said.
So about the CPU.
The CPU helps in the early stages of like importing stuff, building lighting, that kind of stuff.
Have you found there to be any misconceptions in the community in that way? Like I know a few years back people were like hardcore dual Xeon for Premiere, and that's not the case anymore. Is there any mismatches in that sort of sense in
I
what you found?
haven't come across anything like that. I think people, well, especially now that Threadripper is taking over because it's so multi-core, like people are just like, yeah, I'll just do that instead of two CPUs to equal this. Like I'll just get this.
Okay.
Much easier. So I think that's kind of taken away some of that like multi CPU thing. People are just
Oh, blast it all. Uh-oh.
I can get enough cores with one. So
Oh, weird. It hung for a second, and then your sentence finished perfectly. I don't understand
might have been
why I
having
get
some
so many
network
hiccups.
problems on my side. Oh yeah, mine just
Or
said
me.
I just
I'm
got a
saying.
your connection is unstable on my
So did
Zoom.
I.
Okay.
I did hear a few days ago that Zoom like crashed for like 4 hours a few days back.
Yeah.
So and which makes sense. School is starting, so like hundreds of thousands of people are just trying to smoosh into their thing. So does this might be a little related. Does a powerful GPU help with better streaming, or a better CPU should be invested in?
Depends what codec you want to use. I'm a fan of NVENC, so you'd want what's it called? Nvidia, whatever the current generation is. Not Ampere,
Sure, the
that's the
RTX,
next one, but
the 20,
whatever.
the 20 series.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
20 series because that has a dedicated video encoding chip on it that's really good. You can often get close to what a CPU can do, but then you don't have to use CPU resources while you're trying to run a game.
Yeah. I
So
always wondered about that, and might be a little off topic, but like, is it completely separate? So like, if I'm using NVENC, am I going to get worse gaming quality? Like, I can't do 4K now because I'm using my GPU, or like, is it a
no, it's
shared
a
resource?
separate
I suppose
thing.
it is. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, and
Let's
it's
see.
like 2060 will perform like the same as a 2080 Ti. Like it won't. It's like the same chip, so like it doesn't matter which of the 20 series cards you have. It's all gonna
Okay.
be the same.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Good. Well, there you go. Vivek Moore. Right on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cody Harris Turing. That's what it is. I could not remember
Turing. Ah, that's right.
that for the life of me.
I mean, normal video streaming. For as an example, if you're just talking just regular video, like what we're doing here, I'm using a 6700K and a mobile 970. It's a laptop running
Yeah.
this, and I'm doing 1080p at 60 FPS, and I've dropped 805 frames in 40 minutes. So
Yeah, if you're not
you,
doing anything else, then just go with CPU encoding, and it's anything will work.
yeah, if it's just regular video, a strong CPU will be fine. I think probably Intel because of QuickSync, maybe. I know that has a thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that works with streaming or not, but yeah.
Yeah, I know that it
Doesn't
helps with video editing.
Because this be well, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly how it all works from streaming and not. So
Yeah.
how are you guys looking forward to the Nvidia 3000 series?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
have no idea
right.
what they are, but yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, new hardware is always fun. So
Oh, yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. We were talking about that before the stream started. It's like in the positions that we're in, we get a lot of like behind the curtain sort of look that we're not supposed to talk about. Very like we're talking hardcore NDA, destroy the business kind of thing. So we always have to be very, we'll have to wait and see, and that's enough.
Well, even that, a lot of times the stuff we do get is still like, this is our target, and we don't know. Like until we
Yeah.
have a piece of hardware in our hand, everything's rumor.
And I say that all the time, even before working here. It's all marketing. It's all they're like if you look close at the graphs that they show during these announcements and stuff, they don't make any sense. They're not. Don't. It's all nonsense. Just wait. And people get into such arguments over bogus numbers that don't mean anything. So
Yeah.
Should make the last gen cheaper, right?
Currently, they're not even available. So
Yeah. Well, it's like, well, yeah, but you're still finding 1080 Ti's for $500. You know, it's
well, they must have like discontinued some of the 20 series already because like we're having a hard time getting them.
I
And
think
we're
so.
like,
Is that?
cool? Are you gonna like? Yeah.
I noticed that too with even the like the 1660 Ti. It's like near impossible to find. It's like they put it out there and then we're only gonna make 100,000 of them and that's enough. And then I thought that was gonna be a whole nother like branch of models and things. And
Well,
Yeah.
and when the 20 series first came out, they're like, okay, it's launched now, but it was like 2 months or something before we had like a decent supply coming in, and it's like, so until we can get some relatively reasonably, like, I don't know. I'm excited for it, but also on a business perspective, I'm not excited.
yeah, that's for sure. Oh, this is kind of an interesting question, just a little more esoteric, I suppose. Why do companies keep so secret before releasing any product? Will that stop people from buying the card, or they want to build a hype?
Couple things. Stuff fluctuates. They might not hit what their initial goal is. They might have to change some stuff, which lead people to getting upset. Also, they want to control the narrative for marketing purposes. They want to like, this is what it is. So yeah, secrecy is for a lot of different reasons.
The Peter Molyneux effect.
Yeah.
Right?
This is gonna be great.
This is why you don't let your dev guy talk. You gotta or what was he was like a designer or something, main head designer guy. I can't remember, but I just too much talk and hope can ruin things.
The No Man's Sky, that debacle.
Yeah, that's another one
Like,
too. Yeah,
this is what we think we're gonna do, but they didn't do any of
Yeah.
it. It's now pretty good.
But that's why you have those buffers of
Yeah.
marketing and PR between your design and production and things like that, is to help spin that narrative a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll use Samsung as they could not get fab space on TSMC, or is that just rumor?
I have no idea.
I didn't even hear about not getting fab space on TSMC. I had
Yeah, that goes
No clue.
deeper into production than I dive. I don't know.
I mean, there's only a handful of memory makers anyway, so
Yeah.
you can't, you
Well,
can't really go wrong.
anyone that wants more details, John Bach will be on the stream next week.
That's right.
Little teaser.
Yeah. So for some of that new product stuff, John will be the guy to talk to about that sort of thing. I don't know. What kind of interesting stuff have you bumped into lately in your new adventure into Unreal? I want to know more.
Boy, I don't know. I mean, I find like it's all so fascinating how many people are using a game engine for non-game stuff. Like it's I've also found it, okay, here's one thing I think is I've been dealing with lately that I think is really bizarre. I mentioned a little bit earlier. Unreal Engine does not support multiple GPUs.
Yeah.
Which
That's
is weird for a couple of reasons. A, multiple games that use Unreal Engine support SLI or
Sure.
NVLink, but the engine doesn't. And then also at the announcement of the 20 series cards, they had this like the Star Wars demo where like they had, the one with all the chrome armor. I can't remember her name.
Oh, Phasma. Phasma.
Yeah, Phasma and a couple of the stormtroopers like walking down a hallway and all this stuff, and they're like, and this is running on four Quadro RTX 6000 or whatever it was. So it's like,
Huh.
they show off stuff all the time that uses multiple. So
Yeah.
to get your game to use multiple video cards, you have to get the game ready, and then you have to get Unreal and Nvidia to help you enable it on your game. So like they will give you like this different version of Unreal that has multiple GPU support. And then theoretically the same thing is happening in the like movie production space, that
Sure.
there's a way to make it work that Unreal has, but they just haven't put it into the main distribution of Unreal at this point. So that's really weird.
Yeah, that is really weird.
So it's led to a lot of confusion in the the like virtual production. People are
Right.
like, oh, we got to do all this, push all these polygons and huge textures. So I'm going to get two 2080 Ti's with an NVLink, and that'll be
Right.
great. And then it doesn't do anything.
Weird.
So it's kind of weird. And they've been saying that they're going to enable it in the engine or in the editor for a couple of years.
Oh, wow.
So we're on Unreal 4.25, which is, they've been saying it since after 4, which was probably
Okay.
2 years ago, I think, 3 years, something like that.
You're
We've
around
been
there.
saying it for a while, but maybe with Unreal 5, I don't know.
Yeah. Ooh, that was a very cool demo.
Yeah.
Ah.
Still a lot of questions about that demo, but it was a cool demo.
Right. Yeah.
There's a lot of things they have not clarified yet.
Is Puget Systems dealing with very high-end systems only? I think PC you guys make your way over budget for normal people.
What do you mean by normal people?
Yeah, I mean that's a difficult. There's a lot of subjectivity to that question or statement. We can and often do configure systems that are, a couple $1,000s. But then we also have configured systems that are in the 5 figures, 10 plus $1,000. It becomes a question of value, right? And value is it comes down to time. How much time are you willing to spend? Because time is money in a quite literal sense.
Yeah.
And so,
And we constantly review our product line to see what
yeah.
people are actually buying or not. And I think the last review, when we went over CPUs, because I'm in part of the product management team, like the 960, we used to carry that.
Yep.
Intel 960, and like over the course of 6 months, we sold like 5 of them or something. Like no one was buying them.
Yeah.
So like the people that come to us to buy a computer are looking for like content creation
High-end
workstations. Like they want the top line.
Yeah.
We just don't get the enthusiast or home shoppers anymore. So that's just kind of shaped what we offer now. So
Like I was on a personal note, I was a little sad that we weren't going to carry like the 3600X, but it makes sense. You got to think that it does, because that isn't a powerful enough product for the customers that we serve and who come to us. It's a combination of that. So
and like the 3600, the 9400X from Intel is a really great CPU. It's just we don't have anyone wanting to buy it, so
yeah,
I don't carry it.
yep. It's like Ferrari being over budget for the normal people. Oh dang it! I had something I wanted to ask before I got knocked off track. And I'm kind of a space cadet like that. Nuts. I guess I'll throw it back to you. Is there anything in particular you'd like to point out or mention? Like say somebody wants to kind of dabble in this sort of thing at home. What do you recommend? How do they get started? Where do they go?
So, well, first of all, Unreal is completely free,
Yep.
as long as you're not making money off of it.
Right.
And even then, you have to make like,
Like a million, I think, before
yeah,
they
I don't
start
remember
taking their
what it
piece.
is, but like, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's completely free. And Unreal itself, because it's a game engine, it's designed to work on several years old worth of hardware. Like,
Hmm.
it doesn't take a lot to run the engine itself and get some basic stuff going. You don't have to go, full Mandalorian to kind of get started with this. You can do some pretty basic models, like green sheet of paper, and then like make that like a window into a world, and then like track
Ooh.
everything using a webcam. I saw one that the guy was just using, he attached a Vive controller to his cell phone, and that was the
Right.
camera, and just
Ooh.
like was able to move around. Like, it doesn't take a whole lot. Like, you don't, if you just want to dabble with either creating games or making a VR thing, like, it doesn't take a whole lot. You might not be able to do ray tracing, which is fine. Like,
Sure.
you can actually do ray tracing. You can enable ray tracing on 10 series cards or
Hmm.
older. You're just gonna get like 5 frames a second, but it will work. You could render out a movie like using their offline renderer and
Sure.
render it out slower, but it'll work. But if you just disable ray tracing, you can still get pretty good. You can do
Hmm.
pretty much everything.
Have you done anything fun or interesting in the dabbling into this?
I did set up I should do it again. Use my webcam to like green screen me out of the background and put me into a virtual set. That was kind of
Yeah.
fun. And it's like all running in real time. And I'm just like talking to it. And theoretically, I could do that for like my camera here and just have, I'm sure there's a way I can get it to output to Zoom.
Oh,
If nothing else, I could just OBS and just crop the frame
yeah. I
in the
was like,
editor.
there was that thing Matt was talking about. That creates a virtual camera, but it's like a monitor. You can set it as like your monitor or something.
Yeah, you can do
I'm
that
not
in
sure how he
OBS,
set that up.
but I don't know how to
Oh.
output live from Unreal to another thing
Oh.
without
Okay.
using a Blackmagic card or Maxwell. I think's the other one. No, there's another camera manufacturer that makes SDI cameras with their own capture
Oh.
cards. There's Blackmagic and someone else. But
Um.
they both have plugins available in the
Ah,
marketplace.
okay. Oh, you want to talk about Microsoft Flight Simulator?
I haven't played that. I should really.
Same.
Yeah. I keep
It's
thinking I
a.
need to get Xbox Game Pass, but I just
Uh,
haven't. Like, it's
I
such a
think it's
great
neat.
deal, but I just, yeah.
It looks cool. Um.
I like
I don't know.
that. I was
It's not
impressed that
my jam.
I'm impressed they have real-time weather. So like the hurricane
I
right
can
now,
see
you
that.
can like fly through that. Like, that's insane.
I saw
Yeah,
some news about that, and that is mind blowing. I
yeah,
didn't realize.
that's
Like, I
cool.
knew that it was. I knew that it was like a basically a one-to-one like simulation. I didn't
Hmm.
realize that it was real time essentially.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a little bit delayed, but I didn't
Hmm.
realize that it's like it's today
Yeah.
basically, and that's really cool. Magwell,
I
is that
think
the
that
one with
could be
the
it.
camera
I
camera
can't
capture
remember.
card?
Yeah. But so he on YouTube, he goes
Mm-hmm.
on to say, how did a game like that, how's a game like that made?
Oh yeah.
So the world is basically satellite images that
Okay.
are like already available. And then the cities are, I mean, I'm assuming, I don't know this for sure, that's basically what like Google and Apple have done with their Street View, how they like, is able to map real cities onto 3D by just using like LiDAR or whatever with the cars that
Oh
drive down the
sure.
roads. So it's probably the same thing. They probably bought assets from someone else and then more than likely went in the artist to like clean up most of the cities and make sure that like the Statue of Liberty is shaped correctly and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the land is mostly satellite imagery. That's not just like photos, but like actually capturing terrain, elevations, and heights and stuff
Oh,
like
sure.
that. And
Yeah,
then from there, it's pretty easy to populate trees or anything else you want to put in based on biomes and stuff.
Yeah. I was gonna say I think the USGS actually has a lot of that sort of thing publicly available, topographical maps and that sort of scanning and whatnot.
Yeah, it's easy enough to go from that and then use some sort of tool to populate stuff into it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say like, oh, it's easy, but like,
Well, what it's been like 15 years between flight simulator games.
But it's not like they didn't have artists like making the entire world from scratch. They use tools to.
I imagine it was some sort of cross team up with like Google and whatnot. I imagine they have a lot of that sort of data.
Yeah.
Because it's like beaches and people. I've seen people like, hey, that's my house, and like flying over that kind of thing. So fly over Area 51. You probably it's just black for a bit, and then
all of a sudden it's really blurry. Like,
that'd be kind of funny. Let's see. Oh, I'm curious about what sort of resources that you have found for. Like, is there? So not you've mentioned like the Facebook group, but are there like, I imagine it being the internet, there must be, but like, what have you found as far as like websites and tutorials and that sort of thing?
for like learning Unreal.
Yeah, and Unreal and also just the video production side as well, or virtual production side.
Unreal actually has extremely good documentation for their game. Like it's very thorough, very well done. So they provide just tons of stuff.
Okay.
From there, if you look at the marketplace, which is part of the launcher for the game, it's the exact same launcher if you have like Fortnite. It's the same launcher to launch Unreal Engine. It's all in there. But it's a separate marketplace for Unreal Engine versus, but it's the same launcher. It's confusing.
Okay.
But
so it's all in the Epic Game Store launcher, but then there's a Unreal marketplace for like assets and things.
Okay. That's different from their game store.
Which makes sense.
So if you go into that, and then there's all sorts of sample scenes. There's stuff you could buy. There's free texture packs. There's all kinds of stuff to get you started. And then YouTube just has like, because it's so popular and so easy to access, it's always been free, that like there's just tons of people have gotten into it and have put up tutorials for anything. Like I wanted to just make a little countdown timer on the screen so I knew how long I had left in my test pass. I'm like, okay, Unreal Engine countdown timer, and then like this whole list of YouTube videos popped up on like how to make a timer for your game, and look it up and like, okay, cool, put that in. Yeah, there's
nice
to learn Unreal. If you want to dive into it, there's a lot of resources available. It's pretty friendly to do, and lots of communities, there's lots of stuff. It's much friendlier than a lot of other software packages.
Right on. Okay, cool. So there you go. If you're go on out there and make the next Fortnite, or whatever your flavor may be. I am really excited though to see more of what people do with this virtual production. It seems like the barrier to entry at least is so low. I'm actually a little surprised that we aren't seeing more already, given the state of the world and things that people can't gather together and do big video productions and stuff. I'm curious what's been the holdup with just seeing more of this sort of thing. Like people like I keep coming back to the early days of machinima, right? The red versus blue early days and things like that. that kind of stuff blew up, and people were doing that stuff left and right, and I'm a little surprised to not see more of that sort of thing going on, and
Yeah.
maybe I'm just not.
I
Maybe it hasn't
think,
just broken out yet, or
yeah, I think we're on the verge of that. There's already, like I was telling you before our stream, there's already companies setting up these virtual caves that you can rent out for if anyone wants to do this but don't want to put the investment to make the LED walls. So like we're starting to see that stuff coming on. The biggest thing is tracking camera movements, because right now they're basically using like HTC Vive, that's the main one, or other VR trackers to attach that to the camera to then control the camera in game to make everything line up. So that's the difficulty right now. Is it's most of the industry is kind of making it up as they're going along. There's no like, this is the solution. Those things are right on the edge, though. There's people working on it. Matt Workman is making Cinetracer, I think is what he calls it. That will be one of the first like packages to like get everything going and off the thing. He won a grant from Epic to it's part of one of the Epic Mega Grant recipients to actually make that. So like that stuff's kind of right around the corner to make it more like, this is what you need, this is how you do it, it's ready to go.
I see.
Until that happens, I think you need people that know how to make it work.
Yeah, that makes sense, because it has the little bit like, especially the things that I've seen from Matt Workman. It seems very kind of hacked together, like weird combinations with what was that old Xbox eyeball thing that they had
the
done?
Kinect.
That's it. I've seen some weird connections with that as far as like motion capture and things like that. So I guess somebody's just gonna have to step up and be like, okay, here's the cool little 3D tracking disc that you just attach to your camera.
Speaking of hacked together, I saw this virtual production demonstration where they had like live actors with motion capture suits to translate to a 3D character, but then also to capture facial animations. Currently, the only tool for that in Unreal is an iPhone. For some reason, which is hilarious considering their lawsuits with each other right now. So they have like, the motion capture suit with all these spots all over it and stuff, and then this headset with these poles that come off that's holding an iPhone like this far from their face to like capture their facial animations, and it's so funny looking. But then the result is they have a cinematographer with the iPad that's like moving the virtual camera around, capturing these real actors, and it's like all happening on screen in real time, and it's cool. But it's just so hacked together. It's funny.
Yeah. But I mean, how creative, I've seen demos of like the Face ID LiDAR thing that they do, or I'm not sure exactly what kind of tech they're using, but it is remarkably accurate. And so it's fun to see how people are taking all these little bits and pieces and smooshing them together to get them where they're trying to go.
For sure.
That's really neat. All right, so we are a little over our hour. Is there anything else you want to point out or shout out or anything?
If you use virtual production or Unreal in any professional way, and there's something you want to see benchmarked, let me know, either on my Twitter, KW Shipman, or I have a blog series on pugetsystems.com that you can follow along with what I'm doing. Feel free to comment on any of the articles, say, hey, you should do this, or look at this, or whatever. I am more than willing to take whatever information you got, because we want to make sure that the benchmark covers how people are actually using the software for their industry. And I need to know that information.
You can help shape the future of the industry by just telling us what you need.
Tell me what to do.
Seriously. Well, cool. Thank you very much, Kelly, for taking an hour plus out of your day to come join and talk about this cool stuff. I'm super excited to see the future of virtual production. I think it is going to be the coolest like marriage of like gaming in a way, and also like cinematography, and I'm gonna just be blown away by what people do with this. It's gonna be so cool, and I'm really stoked to see what happens.
So I'm
in the
waiting
future.
for, I think it's going to happen next, is have two different actors on two different stages, and then they're comped together, and it looks like they're in the same room together, but one's in LA, the other one's in England, and it's
Yeah.
a video
Oh,
live that looks like they're sitting there.
it's gonna be great. That will be so cool. Yes, it's just going to be a blast. I'm very excited. So thank you very much. And thank you as well, audience, for joining us today. If you don't know, we do this every Wednesday and Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Wednesdays, we bring industry experts on to talk about their work and what they do and how they do it and give tips and advice. And then Fridays, we bring in a member of our labs team to kind of take a step back and get more of a look at the cross between the hardware and the software and how we help people to solve their problems and get work done. So mark your calendars, Wednesdays and Fridays, 1 p.m. Pacific time. Yeah, we'll see you then.
Yeah.